elements of it. So the second part she only answered, so saved my job. So the second part she answered is, if you migrate your application onto cloud and if you are not changing anything, and if your application is isolated and it is self-serviced application, then you are going to verify only the non-functional aspects of it. But let us say if your application is integrating with any of the, third-party interfaces, or your application can be, interfacing with your own applications which are in-house, or if your application has a small service which is getting exposed on cloud, then you have to do a detailed functional testing also to make sure that in that detailed functional testing, what you would do is you are actually primarily focusing on integration, you are focusing on fault tolerance, then you're doing fault injections. These type of tests you would try to do to make sure, because fundamentally the core is not changing, only the communication model is changing, but still it has functional dependencies. And also you would check for latencies, particularly in asynchronous transaction mode. Okay, when you are trying to do, because banks a lot of times you would do a lot of batch jobs overnight, asynchronous processing and that. When I'm doing that, what if I'm not getting the file? How intelligent is my failover? It is not a non-functional. It tries to travel back into your functional testing. Okay, let us say that I'm expecting a nightly feed from my cloud service onto my local host, and from there I have to process this data and I have to generate my next level of reports for tomorrow, or I'm trying to do some analytics, or I'm trying to change my, as simple as portfolio, P&L or whatever it is. Then in that case, am I actually having an intelligent failover? Let us say if the data feed is missing, or is the application crashing, or am I getting a functional defect? Because if the next day you show a stale data that the portfolio representation is as of yesterday, then that's a big flaw functionally, right? So those are the different dimensions you should look for. Does it make sense? Yeah, I can hear you.
This is Jagdish, I am from Infosys.
Infosys or Emphasis?
Infosys.
Infosys, okay.
Do we have any, you suggested about testing as a service, no? Is there any service provider who does that, currently?
Yeah, Signity does that. I mean, honestly, because I already explained to you, when we did our own journey, performance testing on the cloud, we had a 3-month our own prototyping and validating our own results. We did it. In fact, from the services, whatever I have given you here, mobility services, we have. Performance testing on the cloud, we have. Those are the two services which we do. Test infrastructure commissioning, we are not big enough where we need that kind of commissioning. But these are the two services where Signity has its own hosted labs and we are providing it for our end customers.
But this is more application side. Do you provide for?
No, devices also. Like for example, when I said mobile, we have our own suite of, we have around 150 mobile devices which are hosted in our lab, where our consumers can use both the service, the infrastructure, the framework and the tool put together in a pure task model. So they don't pay for it throughout, we don't charge them for the devices, we don't charge them for the infrastructure, and we just charge them for pay as you go model. And for example, banks like Bank of America, I've seen them doing the test infrastructure commissioning and decommissioning. Even in India, Bank of America has a captive, right? So they do a lot of test infrastructure commissioning and decommissioning. On-demand automation labs, I've consulted for a couple of healthcare companies where I've seen them actually hosting a on-demand automation labs. They have them, and in fact, they wanted to know how best can they optimize it, and I've consulted them personally where I've seen them, and in North America. So all of this, whatever I gave you guys, is from real-time experience, and this we have done in our previous company, AppLabs, and actually HP is building a case study, and HP wants this customer as a reference, where we gave them a 2 million saving over a 10-year roadmap, just purely by enabling the licenses on the cloud. So whatever I give you, these are absolutely valid, and we have done that, and I know the value.
This is Rama from TCS. I just wanted to know, you have gotten the exit strategy, which we have to think about, right? Can you please tell us which attributes that we have to look at when we are coming up with that strategy?
So when you look at an exit strategy, the first and fundamental aspect of it you need to look for is the service provider. Okay, the service provider with whom you are going on to cloud, are they providing you a clean, data migration if at all you want to, exit from them? The second aspect of it is, are they putting any lock-in or are they putting any minimum, this is the duration what you have to do or this is the minimum size of it. So it's all about, reviewing the contract of, what the cloud vendor with whom you are going. And the third aspect of it is, what are the limitations, what they are, they don't explain it in your bold, then, they have it like, in a very small 6 or, 5 font size to explain what are the limitations. So when you are actually a QA, I don't worry about like, the fonts which are written in 12 or 16. I would rather read the ones which are in 6 and 4 because those are the places where they put all the caveats. So you want to, make sure you look at them. But primarily I would say, look for your data migration strategy. Look if at all they are adopting to OSLC standards. So you have a easy migration out. And then the third aspect of it, is there any lock-in? I think at least at a prima facie, if you are covering these 3, you are good.
Thanks,
These guys are forcing.
It's only a temporary.
Anyone else?
Anybody has any more?
Thankfully, the backup for